What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Sideline Scoop, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over the fantasy outlook for the 2020 Miami Dolphins. In yesterday's video, I looked over the Patriots, so I thought that we'd stick in the AFC West, and so if you want to check out that video after this one, I'll link it down in the description so you can go give that a look and take a look at that one. So in today's video, what I'm basically going to do is going to look at sort of how the Dolphins performed last year, sort of the ways that they have improved in the offseason through the draft, and where I see certain players, how they'll perform this year. A little bit later in the video, I'm going to look at Devante Parker and sort of tell you why I'm excited about him this year with where he's currently being drafted. So last year, the Dolphins had a pretty, not great season, 5-11. It was more of a rebuilding year, so people didn't expect too much for them. Ryan Fitzpatrick was quarterback. He started 13 games. He finished the season with 3,529 yards and 20 touchdowns with 13 interceptions. But then if you look at their rushing attack, it was not good, not pretty. They didn't have any good options there because Ryan Fitzpatrick ended up being the number one rusher on their team, which is not good. If your quarterback is the number one rusher and it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, not very pretty. And so he ran for 243 yards, and they had a few other running backs, Mark Walton, Kenyon Drake. But luckily, now it is going to be much better this year because they have two additional running backs. They picked up Matt Breida from the 49ers, and they picked up Jordan Howard from the Eagles. So right now, it seems as if they're both going to be in a committee working with each other. If you look at Jordan Howard, he played in 10 games last season before entering himself for the Eagles. He finished with 119 carries for 525 yards, averaging 4.4 yards per carry. He hurt his shoulder last year, but he said in the past month or so that he's 100% ready. He is 100% ready to come back and play. So I guess that's good if you're a Dolphins fan. And then Breida, on the other hand, coming from the 49ers, he averaged 5.1 yards per carry last year, which is very, very good. He rushed for 623 yards over 13 games last season. So when you look at these two guys, it seems as if Jordan Howard is going to be the, sort of the early down back, getting a majority of those kind of carries, and then Breida is going to be the sort of change of pace guy, more of a passing threat than Jordan Howard. And right now they're being drafted around the similar position. If you look at their average draft pick, and if you look at people's rankings, sort of the consensus, if you sort of look at lots of the, top experts' projections, they are ranked about a similar position, around the 33 for Jordan Howard and 38 for Breida. So around the similar position, considering they're going to be splitting carries. So these are definitely not guys you want to be targeting early in your drafts. They're probably more value later on. But it seems to me like Jordan Howard is probably going to be the safer bet, as in like more consistent, considering he's going to be getting the carries. And then I'd say on a week-to-week basis, maybe Breida has more upside because it can be that sort of fast threat coming out of the backfield, receiving passes. And so I definitely say I think I myself would probably be more likely to pick Jordan Howard to stick with him. But you never know. Maybe one of these guys will end up beating the other one out, and they'll get more of the carries. I guess we won't really know until training camp comes, if it actually happens. So we're sort of going to see with that one. And then if we look at their O-line last year, that was one of their main problems. They were dead last in adjusted line yards. They were dead last. So they ranked 32nd, which is one big reason why they were not good. But luckily in this offseason, they picked up 3 offensive linemen in the draft, which is going to help a lot. Plus they got these 2 new running backs who are both pretty solid options. So I expect the running attack to be much better this year. And then, of course, the biggest key on this team, the most exciting thing, of course, recently with the draft just finishing, is Tua Tagovailoa. I looked up how to say his name, and it's supposedly Tagovailoa, something like that. It's very hard to pronounce, as you can tell. But he, of course, is the biggest story of their team right now. He was picked in the draft. If you didn't check it, he was picked 5th in this draft to the Dolphins. And so right now it's looking as if Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be the starter. So he's going to be able to have time to learn under him and sort of see, how it is that you operate as an NFL quarterback. So that's going to be good to sit behind him and probably learn a lot of things. Who knows, maybe he comes in later in the season and plays. I guess we don't really know what's going to happen, but it's likely right now that Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be their guy still, and it's likely Tua will take over next year. So if you're playing in Dynasty, definitely a good look. I'm not playing in Dynasty currently. I might look to be joining some leagues soon, but Tua will definitely be a great player, likely, in the near future, as long as he can stay healthy. And there's one thing I want to look at him, just sort of for his future. Nick Saban had some things to say about him, what he thinks will improve his sort of value, I guess, in the NFL. So I just wanted to read some of these quotes, which are pretty interesting, actually. So this is what Saban had to say. He said, "All his injuries came late in the down, where you could argue, hey, why do you still have the ball? This is something he needs to learn how to do, Saban said. He wants to make a play. Sometimes you've got to say, hey, the other guy has won. I've got to give up on this play. The downside of getting hit or injured is greater than trying to gain 5 yards here. That's something he needs to learn, and we've talked to him a lot about it. But you don't want to take the guy's competitive spirit away. It's unique. Then he said, Tua is such a great person. Really was a very, very good leader here. One of the most popular players that we've ever had with our fans and our fan base. I think he'll be a great face of the organization there. But that was what Saban had to say, basically saying if he can learn to sort of get rid of the ball quicker, not hold on to it because he's had some injury history. If he can do that, he can be a great quarterback in the NFL. So that's good news for you Dolphins fans. And then here now looking at probably my favorite option on this team going into the fantasy draft is Devante Parker. Because last year he had his best year of his career all time, best. He finished with his first 1,000-yard season. He finished with 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. And one interesting stat that I found in an article I was reading was that last year only 2 receivers had 55 receiving yards in 13 of their games. Devante Parker and Michael Thomas, the number 1 receiver. So that basically just shows you that he's not touchdown dependent. So maybe he's likely to be more consistent week in and week out, which is what you want in fantasy. Of course, it's nice to have those big weeks where he blows off, but you don't want to have no production the other weeks. So he's very consistent, and it's likely that he won't have as great a year as he had this year. He's likely to regress a little bit, especially with more options at running back and a better offensive line. He's not the only guy they're going to be looking to this season, but I still expect him to be great this year. And if you look at his average draft position right now, he's being picked as the 34th wide receiver right now, which is crazy considering he was the 6th best wide receiver last year. And so with that average draft pick position right now, I'll probably be targeting him a lot because I think he's definitely more valuable in that position he's currently being picked in. I'd probably rate him more in the 15 to 20, maybe 10 to 20 range. So definitely, I think he could be a steal a little bit later on if his average draft position stays where it is, because it can always change. We're early, and you never know what things can switch up. And then if you look at their tight end position, sort of the last thing I wanted to go over here is they have a guy named Mike Gesicki. I don't know if I said that right. Mike Gesicki. Interesting name. But anyways, last year he was one of their leading receivers. He had, let's see here, I got a stat. Oh, it disappeared. Wait, no, it didn't. Mike Gesicki, he was their second leading receiver with 89 targets, 51 receptions, 570 yards receiving, and 5 touchdowns. And so he's likely to be probably more of a tight end 2 for you if you're looking for him right now. His consensus rankings are around 14th. So he could be not a great option, but he's all right. He's not too much of a dud. But those are basically the keys on this team I wanted to look at coming into this year. Hopefully that can be helpful to you so that you can, better prepare for your draft. But if you got any value from this video, I would love if you'd like it down below. It sort of helps the algorithm, push it out to more people so we can get some more fantasy people onto this channel. If you enjoy this too and you want to hear more fantasy things in the future, feel free to subscribe down below because I'm going to be putting out a lot more content. And if you have any suggestions, anything else you want to know, feel free to comment down below. I'd be happy to respond to you guys. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.